We are now, are you ready?
Go.
We are now in the cab of the CT3000. We'll complete the daily operator's maintenance inspection of the two fluid levels that you see from here and the check of the parking brake. The cab is sitting on 4 air cushions. There is a suspension seat in it. Gives the operator a very nice ride, very much more comfortable than any other machine on the market. The seat offers full visibility. All of the components of the seat are attached on a swiveling platform. So my transmission, steering, turn signals, light functions, display, drive or blade joystick, all are mounted with the seat and they all swivel together. We'll turn it this way a little bit and then we'll go all the way around where you can see it with the camera. Allows the operator full access to all the controls at any time. Many operators like to operate it if they're shuttling back and forth, compacting long stretches, driving it from the side like this because they're simply swiveling their head back and forth. On the machine, controls before we get it operating and starting, transmission, speed control, and directional are all on the column. There's a lockout function here, so when you're entering and exiting the cab, you can't accidentally bump it in and out of gear. Parking brake switch has a lockout button on it. Raise this armrest up. To release the parking brake, you depress the button and roll it backwards. To set it, simply flip it forward. It has a rotating beacon switch. Light it to tell you when it's on. And this button, which doesn't have any identification on it, that is an option that comes on all the machines in the US. If for some reason, it's just a safety function, if for some reason the transmission controller or any of the wiring was to have any issues, and we have never seen that, but if you did, you open this panel, exchange 2 wiring harnesses that are labeled, and then this just gives you forward first gear and reverse first gear. No electronics or electrical involved other than that switch going straight to the coil in the transmission. Normally, the transmission is controlled from here. You start, of course, in neutral. Gears 1 through 3 are proprietary only. Whatever gear you select, it'll remain in that gear. Those are your work speeds. 4th speed allows the transmission, which is a Clark CT3000 clutch shift transmission, to shift throughout the 4 gears for transport only. It's really hard to get it to do any work in that particular gear because as the transmission shifts high or up or down, it's always creating more heat. So for operation, you would run it in 3, 2, or 1. You choose the gear by operator experience on the job site. For instance, you want the engine to run at 90% of rated throttle 90% of the time. If it gets below that and you find out it's lugging the engine down too much, then you would need to select a lower gear to operate in. If you never hear it pulling the engine down during operation, you can select a higher gear for more speed. On the right hand side of the column, you have a light, windshield wiper, and washer switch. Directional turn signals. Left side of the floor panel has footrests on either side. You have a brake pedal on the left and a throttle pedal on the right. This machine is made to operate at full throttle when it's in the working mode. So, for instance, if I was on the hill you see outside there, very short grade on the hill, but if I had a long continuous hill like that I was compacting, I would be either in 2nd or 1st gear, and then I would shift it into forward, and I'd hold the pedal all the way down. You want the engine running right open. The machine does its work. The faster you're going with it ground travel speed, the more compaction you get. If I'm going to reverse directions, I just take my foot off the accelerator pedal, pull it back into reverse, and I'm right back in the pedal. Transmission is very durable, but you can damage it if you continually shift it from forward to reverse with the throttle all the way depressed. So you want to take your foot off the throttle. If you forget to do that, it will remind you very quickly because it will jerk your head. It is a very strong shifting transmission. On the operator's panel, we probably should cover the seat a little bit. There are so many adjustments on it that if you can't find a comfortable position with this seat, you may not ever be happy with anything in this world. There are 9 separate adjustments on it. We'll turn the key to the on position so we get some illumination on the Dynapac display. It is the same display we've used in the dirt road buttons that correspond to symbols. So you can change what you're actually looking at on the display by scrolling through those. A lot of functions involved, including a maintenance function. It indicates where the parking brake is engaged, disengaged, whether you're in neutral or not, forward or reverse. It's not running, so it's not actually going to shift. So worthy of note, when you move this lever, you hear a motion alarm in the background, but it has not selected anything other than neutral because the engine is not running. So that is not a direct input from the shifter. It's from the transmission controller, which is actually still in neutral because we're not moving. The joystick on the machine is for the blade control. It's a 6-way Gannon blade with a nice descriptive decal on what the joystick is doing. Because it's a 4-way joystick and it does not have a pattern limiter in it, so you can, for instance, do up and tilt at the same time. You tilt it side to side, that swings the blade side to side out front. If I push the button and push it to the side, that tilts the blade down on one corner. But I can do any of those functions simultaneously while I'm moving the joystick. The buttons that you see in front. On this particular model, same pad we use on a lot of our other dirt machines, most of your function options are for lights. Like we said, it has 8 separate lights out there that you're controlling with these switches. It does have, required by law, a manual regen button. We hardly ever see any need for that on this machine because we're operating it at full throttle most of the time. It also has a defeat button, which is required by law. For instance, if it was in a regen mode and you needed to go across the railroad tracks, you can hold that button down. It defeats the regen, allows you to go without the regen operating, so you get full engine speed. There is a parking brake test switch here, a horn button, and a fan reverse switch. The rest of the controls are an e-stop, pulled up for normal operation. With your armrest and your hand on the blade, you can easily get to the e-stop to shut everything off. That concludes the discussion of the controls in the machine. We can crank it up. I can show you the safety features before we do that and after I crank it. So, like most of our machines, it has a start interlock and a run interlock circuit. The start interlock, like all the other machines, will not allow you to crank the machine, spin the engine over that is, unless you're in neutral and the parking brake is engaged. If I take it out of neutral and I turn the key all the way to the start position, it'll give me an indication pointing at what is wrong. It needs to go into neutral. If I have the parking brake in the release position, it'll give me a similar indication. Right now you're seeing the glow plug switch came on there momentarily when I turned the key back on, but now it's indicating park. In the correct position, you might notice the display is going off between key cycles. It has a mechanical anti-restart ignition switch on it. So after I've gone to start, I have to go back to the off position before I can rotate back to start. Okay, we're in the glow plug mode. We go to start. The machine is now running. So at this point, it responded to my throttle. At this point, I can begin to operate it. Now, if I wish to leave the machine to let it warm up or give me some coffee, I can get up out of the seat and leave, and it will continue to run. No alarms will sound. If, however, I have the transmission in neutral, when I get up, you get a loud audible warning. The same thing if the parking brake is released. Now, if both of them, parking brake released and it's out of neutral at the same time, there's a timer on the thing. Once I get out of the seat, I have 4 seconds before it will shut the engine off and set the parking brake, regardless of any selection that we've chosen. That is the totality of the safety features on the machine. I'll shut it off where we can talk some more. We did not cover the fact the steering wheel is adjustable for different operators, wide range of motion. The seat, of course, has a slide function for going forward also. It has adjustable armrests on it, so I can change the height that they're actually resting at. On the left side, it has a back adjustment for the angle of the back, and just in front of that, a lumbar button that provides lumbar support for the operator in the middle of the seat. We'll do one more. This is a cab unit. Most of them are today. On the right side of the panel, we have switches for all of the windshield wipers and washers. Even has a delay rheostat on it for delay wiper function. This machine is equipped with front, rear wipers, and then corner wipers on the right side for your window glass. On the very sides of the machine, you have a slidable window, so there's no wiper on it. On the door is a similar window, so no wiper on it. In the center of the machine, and the roof, we have a light, either red for night operation or white. The same light is available on the side of the console for operation and the controls if you don't have enough light in here to see to get in. In the center, we have the air conditioning controls. It's automatic climate control with a controller in it. Every time you get in the machine, once the key is in the on position, you have to power it up with its bottom right button for power. Now, it's set in automatics, where I recommend leaving it. With it set there, you've got a down and up button on the right side. Those simply control the temperature setting you can have. Whatever you set it at, if it's too hot, it'll turn on the air conditioner. If it's too cold, it'll run the heater to get you there. There are many other settings where you can defeat the fan, change the fan speed, only have heat, only have air conditioning. Of course, you have a recirculation or fresh air button. On the far left, we have a Blaupunkt stereo system with hands-free cell phone connection and a remote mic that you can pull down if you're in a really noisy environment, where you can place it on your lapel for easy volume control and somebody to hear you if you need to make a phone call while you're operating the machine. Not recommended, of course, because there's a lot going on when you're operating the machine, but it's certainly possible. That concludes the demonstration on operation and daily maintenance on the machine. Any questions?